So thanks for coming.
Thank you.
It's a long time.
Thank you.
Okay. Right. So diabetes. I'll try and make it a bit simple. So it's a chronic disease, chronic condition, which has two main components. One is there's a defect in insulin secretion. That is, there is some deficiency in the amount of insulin that is produced in the body. Okay? That's number one. Or it can be a defect in the insulin action. That is, there is an inability by the body to use the available insulin effectively. Okay? Or it can be both. Now, this, either the defect in the amount of insulin or the defect in the use of the body by the available insulin, either of them will lead to a high blood glucose level, leading to short-term complications as well as long-term complications. It's a chemical which is produced by the pancreas in the body, and then that insulin has got a lot of actions. I think I'll go in detail a little bit later on. But one of the main effects is that when you eat, you break down the food into different components, including glucose. So that glucose is absorbed from the intestine into the blood. Then the sugar has to move from the blood into the cells. So what the insulin does is like a gateway. It opens the gateway for the food, the sugar, to move from the blood into the cells, from the blood into the cells. So the insulin is critical there. So if the insulin is not there, then the sugar will just dam up in the blood. Or if it's there but it's not being used effectively, the end result will be the same. The sugar will dam up in the blood, and you've got high blood sugar or hyperglycemia or diabetes. Type 1, as I said, there is absolute deficiency of insulin. Kaja mentioned this a little bit, but what we think happens is that type 1, thank you. What we think happens is that in type 1 diabetes, on the left there, right, the cells of the pancreas which secrete insulin, they're called the beta cells, they get damaged. We call it in medicine an autoimmune. Auto means the self, and immune means that something goes wrong with the immunity. So what we think happens is that something changes the cells in the pancreas which secrete insulin, okay? And we think this is probably a viral infection. So when the cell is damaged, in the beta cells in the pancreas, the body does no longer recognize those cells in the pancreas as part of the self. So the body starts producing antibodies which now damage the pancreas and switch off the insulin secretion. That's type 1. So there is quite likely some infection which occurs to change the cell in the pancreas, and then the body attacks that cell and switches off the insulin secretion. Okay. On the right there, we have type 2. There is what is called insulin resistance. Now, this insulin resistance and beta cell function, the insulin resistance is what leads to the body being unable to use the insulin which you have properly. What happens is that for those who are going to develop type 2 diabetes, this is type 2, initially the insulin resistance is low, but as you get older, the insulin resistance starts rising and rising and rising, until it reaches a stage where the resistance is so high that the person becomes symptomatically diabetic. Okay? So in the initial stages, for those with adult type of diabetes, they actually secrete a lot of insulin because the body recognizes that there's something wrong. The insulin is not being used properly. So if you have 10 units in the body, so you secrete maybe another 10 of 20 units. So what we find is that at the very beginning of adult type of diabetes, the insulin levels are pretty high because they're trying to compensate for the insulin resistance, which is genetically determined. Okay? But something else happens with time, the beta cell dysfunction. What happens is that initially you secrete a lot of insulin, and then because the pancreas is under a lot of pressure constantly, trying to secrete more and more insulin because of the resistance, the pancreas gets exhausted, and after 10 years, 12 years, the insulin levels, even in the adult type of diabetic, becomes very low. Now, we call it sugar disease or hyperglycemia, but it's not only the sugar which becomes deranged. Other things like the fat metabolism, the protein metabolism, electrolytes, they all depend on insulin and the defect of the insulin deficiency.